Hey, everybody. This is Steve Gibbons from Bridges. And we're running about 8 minutes late again. We had trouble connecting to Facebook. But I have Hung Pham here on the call with me. Hung, thanks for hanging in there with me. I believe now that it says we are live. I don't see any viewers yet. We may have dropped them in the 8 minutes when we were playing with the technology. Um, but nevertheless, we'll go ahead with our conversation. It'll be recorded and we can post it for people later if nothing else.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
welcome,
Yeah.
welcome Hung, to another episode of Bridges Conversations. My name is Steve Gibbons. I'm the executive director of the Bridges Foundation in St. Louis. We offer the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius Loyola in everyday life. This is a program that runs from September to May every year. Throughout the year, we have these conversations with members of our communities, with friends in the Ignatian spirituality world. And it's a way for us to stay in contact with you and to have good conversations on topics that many of people in our community are interested in. So today we're talking with Father Hung Pham, who's a Jesuit priest. He's the director of the Office of Ignatian Spirituality for the central and southern province of the Jesuits, and has been involved in vocation work for many years too. So today we're going to be talking about praying with and praying with the incarnation of Jesus, praying during this time of Advent and Nativity, and what that means. So, uh, Hung, welcome.
Thank you, Steve. I think it'll be good to be with you and
Yeah,
honor and privilege. So, yeah, good afternoon to the Bridges family.
thanks. So we're sitting here I'm sitting here in the middle of North America. It's cold and a little wet out these last few days, and we're getting ready for Christmas. You're somewhere different now. Tell us where you are right now and what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I am very fortunate. This time of the year, I have been going down to South Africa. Right now, I'm in Durban, South Africa, to teach a course on the spirituality constitutions to the Tertian, which is the formation for the young priest in their third year of the novitiate as they prepare for the final vows or final incorporation into the society.
Hmm.
So today is about 100 degrees, and we have barbecue right by the ocean. So it's a very different sense and climate for Advent, Steve. So
Yeah, yeah. You visited with us on Bridges Conversations last year sometime, but give us a little a brief introduction to who you are, where you came from, and maybe in the course of doing that, talk a little bit about how the celebration of Advent and Christmas has changed for you from your life in Vietnam to the United States to being a Jesuit. What's that all look like? And just tell us a little bit about yourself.
yeah, so thanks, Steve. I was born in Vietnam around the end of the Vietnam War, as we know it. I think 1969. Vietnam is a very tropical country, so I think is have only two season: the rainy season and the dry season. So obviously didn't know anything about snow or anything about winter in terms of us now in the U.S. Right? So I came to the U.S. in 1985 when I was 16. What happened is my dad, who came right after the war, immigrated to Denver, and then he sponsored my mom and the rest of our family. I'm the youngest of seven, so my mom and seven of us siblings and went and immigrate to Denver. And while in Denver, I was fortunate to be able to attend Beaches University, which is a Jesuit university, and that's where I first met the Jesuits. And I was really more like intrigued and fall in love with on the aspect of more doing social justice. So the alternative spring break, instead of have a spring break, I mean, I participate in a certain trip to go down to the border, go to like Nueva Rosita, which is Coahuila, the province of Coahuila, Mexico, and just do some immersion and some community service. And that's where I really fall in love with the Jesuits. And my fourth year as senior at Regis, we did what is a neighborhood project called Romero Project. So us university students come and tutor the underprivileged children in high school and grade school, and mostly Spanish speaking community. So I was really fall in love with this kind of work, and that's really drawn me to the society. I studied math, chemistry, and biology when I was undergrad at Regis. So it's a big change, but that's where I fell in love, and it's just like, well, let's give it a chance to see where it is. And I have never leave, Steve. So that's a little bit of
Mhm.
my vocation story.
Yeah.
And then you asking about the Advent, I think it's very telling, because really helping me, because then growing up in Vietnam in tropical, and I'm a very active and a lot of energy kind of kid. So I do a lot of things, running around, playing the field, and hanging out with friends and things like that. And came to the US, I remember we arrived around November, right about Thanksgiving, right before Advent. And then the number one, I'm fascinated with snow. The first time to see snow is incredible. I mean, for us in Vietnam, whenever we do Advent and nativity scene, the way the imagination, we use cotton ball, to get that white and around the manger and thing like that. And then, that's all we know. And I thought, this magical kind of scene and can be very nice, puffy and nice, right? So first come to Denver in the first snowstorm, and then so excited to jump outside. And immediately after 2 3 minutes, I said like, wow, this is not something you run around without shoes and barefooted. So that's the first kind of experience with snow. But in terms of Advent, I think it's sense of kind of really slow me down. I think now I become to really appreciate the winter in North America or in US or in Denver. And there's a sense of like that silence with the whole sense of in the midst of busyness, because I tend to lead a very busy life and a lot of travel and engage in a lot of things, and the weather, and then the shorter the day and the longer the night. And I love to walk in the evening in the snow and the cold weather and bundle up. And there's something in this deep sense of solitude and that silent and slow it down
Mm.
and just walk that quiet walk. So that's the thing that would be get me into that spirit of Advent.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about really kind of specifically what St. Ignatius, for those praying the spiritual exercises or praying out of that spirituality, how do we approach praying with the incarnation and praying with the nativity? So kind of both, what does Ignatius suggest, and maybe what have been your own experiences of praying this time of year?
Yeah, I think the key word you just asked, the word is approach, right? So think about as we walk toward the manger, our perspective change. So as we approach, so we're facing the nativity scene, or we watching this unfolding right in front of our eyes. So sort of kind of we the observer.
Mm.
So as beginning, we are as observer looking at. And as we move closer and closer, we have a close look at all these characters and then nativity scene. And Ignatius even invite us to dare to even walk into the manger.
Mm.
So, and then we walk in the manger, even, I mean, the incarnation contemplation, right? To walk into even the perspective of God, the Holy Trinity. So it's not to look at the Holy Trinity or looking at the Nativity, but looking with. So, like to be joining the community of the Divine Trinity, or to sit in the manger and then to look out. So look out together with the Holy Child and look out together with all these figures and characters in this incredible story as if we were there, and then to look into our society or our community. So we can see the approach. At first we facing the activity, but we enter, and then the whole process we call that contemplation, using our imaginations and even our senses, and imagine in the scene and begin to look down, look out. So imagine like as if we was lying in the manger with Jesus. What do we see and what do we smell? And to have that full experience of this mystery of incarnation. So I think that's the word you use. I think is very very poignant. I mean, how do we begin slowly to approach and changing that perspective?
Yeah. But do you have any, I mean, you kind of just talked about this, but I think any really specific suggestions or resources that you would suggest for people who are seeking to draw nearer to God, nearer to Jesus during this time of Advent? Maybe especially if this time of year is difficult for them, as it can be for so many people who are missing loved ones or anything. Um, what suggestions or advice or guidance would you give them about this time of year in prayer?
I think one of the thing is I mean, the first thing I would say just, I know sometimes we try too hard.
Mm,
And then sometimes, we are like this time of the year, we really bombard with a lot of good things, right? So a lot of good things. So number one, first, I would say like let this nature. I think the advantage of us in North America, which South Africa doesn't have, or like tropical area doesn't have, is the Advent season was designed for North America in a way, in this weather.
mm,
So let this, quiet and solitude, like helping us to ease into this time, because I think I love Advent in a sense of that, that cool. It's not so cold yet, but it's still cool. Sometimes in St. Louis it doesn't help it rain. So I think that take a walk outside sometimes could be a challenge. But on the night that we can walk, I think that just walk. And I think, sometimes I walk around the neighbors. I think a lot of people begin to light their houses. So I think in a way, just get outside and just walk, and to let this whole environment open our senses, and begin, maybe perhaps look up the stars and then look at the sky to see the stars, and just sometimes the music, right? So a lot of good music during this time, and just that very gentle. I think Advent is very, very gentle time. And I also very much aware it is not an easy time for some of our brothers and sisters, in whatever condition that is. And I think sometimes could put a lot of pressure on us in certain expectation unmet. But the thing is that much that we can be outside, number one, and just, I mean, to look at all the beautiful, in this environment around us have offered to us in that way.
mm,
Um, and then Ignatius, in the sense of our this spirituality, is so much about senses, right? The eyes, then too much of it, the senses, the smell, um, and also too that doesn't mean just all the pleasant, but also, I mean, for that courage to even enter a little bit in that, the unpleasant feeling, maybe to be in touch with that. And in this coolness, I think imagine the blanket and just cover ourselves with that. And as I said earlier, enter in this scene, identify ourselves perhaps with some of the shepherds,
mm,
the one who kind of wandering in the outskirt, and then be in this situation. And this is what very much the incarnation take place. So I
yeah.
think all the materials is already out around us, the rather than like more looking for more stuff, right? The stuff is already around us, the music, the
Mhm,
sound, the sight. The
Even things
stars.
you and I were talking last week about kind of about this, and even the idea of lighting candles, right, and or lighting a fire. Those
Mhm.
kind of outward signs can also be
That's it.
helpful this time of year. Yeah.
The liturgical practice, I think this time is in a way very gentle and very powerful, right? I mean, the popo, the lighting, the wreath, and then things just, or some of our houses have fireplace. If you sit next to the fireplace,
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah,
So we do
I
have a few people watching right now. If you have questions that you'd like to throw out to Hung or to me, you can do that right there in the Facebook comment section. If you leave something, we'll see that and we can get to that a little bit later. Um, Hung, let's talk a little bit. So we talk a lot during Advent and Christmas about, of course, we talk about the incarnation of God, the incarnation of the Word, the incarnate Word into the world. Um, and that's an important part of the celebration of Christmas, right? And the Nativity is this coming into the world. But I think there's another aspect to this idea of incarnation, and that's what it means to us. What does it mean to us to live a more incarnational life, to take this Emmanuel, this God with us, who's been given to us not one moment in time, 2,000 years ago uh, in Bethlehem, but for all time. And so, what does that mean? How do we begin to think about that during this time of year, do you think?
That's a real good question, Steve. And I think it's both the excitement and then it's also a challenge, right? And I think it's all begin. I think when we talk about incarnational life and to live, I think number one is thing is be the most and most important is the sense of convictions. And I think let's take a little bit of leap of faith. Is our God is a very faithful God, the God who continued to enter in our world in all conditions. So we talked about before, right? So people not doing well, people doing well, but God continued to enter in our world in all situations, and especially those who are in the periphery or marginalized. That's where God, during this time, very pay attention to that. So God is God in the faithful, the one who has done in the past and in the present and in the future. So the sense of you know God with us at all time in all situations, in all conditions. So that would be our faith. And then the exciting thing about this is for us to open to surprises. And this is also a challenge, right? How do we open the surprises? Like,
Mhm.
think about the thing that we haven't seen. But I think we just have to be in that sense of staying awake, right? The message of this time of the year is vigilant, but not in a sense of terrifying. It's not a sense of fear, but a sense of wonder, the sense of marvel.
Mhm.
So let me tell you this a little story, Steve. And just recently, I visit San Juan, which is Puerto Rico, and visit the Scholastic there, and just visit the guys, and then in the school. And when I went home, and I think the rector, community father Tim Howe, he was promised to kind of more like to take me to the airport, but he was stuck at one of the mass. So he said, "Okay, hon, why don't you take a Uber?" I said, "Of course. I mean, now they Uber." So as I walk out, to the front gate of the Colegio San Ignacio, and one a parishioner, I have to admit I don't know her. I don't think she knows who I am, but I think she have a hunt that it must be a Jesuit because me and kind of guests in the community and Asians and then in bunch of all Latino or like the Puerto Rican. And she said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to the airport." Said, "Well, you want me to take you?" And I was just like, "Oh my God!" I mean, this a lady just come out of mass, and she saw me and said, "I'm not Uber." But I said, "Sure." So, just the moments like that, the goodness, right? And I think that's when the encounter And for us to open to kind of the surprise, I mean, part of me is just kind of like, who is this lady? And she doesn't know me. I don't know her. And she also said, I don't speak any English. I speak mostly Spanish. Is that okay with you? And she absolutely so kind and so gracious.
Mm,
So the moment like that, I mean, we all encounter at airports, we all encounter, on our street. So the incarnational life is God is working through all of these medium, right? To
mm,
the weather, to the goodness of people during this time, and there's a all around us, and we not living a naive, right? I mean, this part of it is also dangerous, and the part of it is risky, and we have to be careful. But the goodness is abound,
mm,
and through that, the thing how we touch in our life and in our community. I mean, think about Bridges community, the Office Ignition Spirituality, and the incredible amount of goodness around. And if we open and be receptive and be surprised by that. So I think that would be
mm.
the incarnational life we live. See,
And I think the thing about this incarnational life is that if we really accept that and we really say we believe what happened 2,000 years ago, and we really believe that God continues to come into the world, continues to live in us, we have to be changed by that, right? I mean,
sure.
we can't just accept that as a fact of life. It has to significantly change how we go about our living, doesn't it?
Yeah. And also too, I think not only the sense of receiving, right? And then I think we all have plenty of chance kind of become the hands of Christ. So we are also, so it ends up kind of more like, I would say the word change sometimes it's just like a lot of pressure, but I think the more invitation and more like exciting. Like you and I could be that Christ present to someone.
Mm,
So the kindness that you and I do, and sometimes we don't even know, right? So maybe at the airport, I mean, recently also again at the airport, and then I saw a couple who speak in Spanish and lost in the airport, and I guide them to the next gate. I mean, I don't think much of it, but I think would be I could be that Christ present to this couple to lead them to the gate. And in our eye of faith, that's what we do. I do this because I believe in this incarnational life. So not only receiving and but that deep sense of gratitude move us to become, like we said, like Christ, and
mm.
then tie it up to our contemplation, right? If we journey in that sense. So that's exciting, and that make it very rich in that, the world is saturated with this goodness of God.
Yeah, we get to be Christ's hands and feet,
Exactly.
as Saint Teresa once said, um, and as Mother Teresa once said, the problem in the world is that we've forgotten that we belong to each other. I
Exactly.
always love that, and it was also Mother Teresa who said, perhaps the best thing we can do is small things with great love. And as you
Exactly.
say, it doesn't have to be changing the world. It might be helping someone through the airport,
Yeah.
or reaching out to someone who you do know is having a rough time this holiday season.
Yeah.
So, well, listen,
Yeah.
before we run out of, and again, there's a few people out there. If you have any questions for Father Pham, please put them in the comments, and we can take those. But
Sure.
while I got you, let's talk a little bit. Next week, you and I are going to be involved in something together again, which we always enjoy doing. This is
Mhm.
an online Advent retreat for those who would like to participate. I'm going to put a little, it's called Hope Against Hope, Voices from the Border. And let me put this flyer up, move us to the side. And why don't you talk about this a little bit? What is this going to be about, and who's involved, and how might people, if they're interested in this, how might they go about signing up?
Yeah, no, thank you, Steve, for us to give the opportunity to make this more available to our brother and sister during this time. So, as we can see, the hope against hope. I think we all know I mean, the world that going to a certain part and go to war. And then I think the climate changes, and again, the political climate in our country is very much in a way unsettled. And like you said, some people could deal with some really hard, difficult time. So, but I think what St. Paul was saying, hope, when we hope, we don't know that would be a real hope. So that's what the title from. That's one part. But the other part, I think, as I share with you, I think it's exciting to kind of listen to a different kind of generation. So what if we go to periphery, or like just go into outside of our comfort zone and then follow? I mean, I was inspired. I always loved this sort of quote, or like this word from Prophet Isaiah, so that the young will speak wisdom and the elders like to dream again.
Mm.
So I was thinking, what if we just listen to our, younger brother and sister who are working and living in that reality in the borders? And borders could mean a lot of different things, right? So it's not geographical, but borders is also mean generational. Borders could mean, the tension between inner city and rural area, in terms of generation within the family. So how do we hear this, experience from these, let's just say, the richness of this border life? And we can listen to the wisdom and then the experience from our younger brother and sisters. And also to part of it, the border in the spiritual meaning, that's where a lot of like creativity that happen. So I think this retreat is perhaps to join in and kind of listen, to hear the wisdom from our younger brother and sisters, and hopefully I'll be dreaming thing again, Steve. I think sometimes, my life a little bit jaded and thing like that, but to hear the young people, I get a little bit excited. So I hope that's what we bring the excitement this time to our retreatants.
Yeah, so every night from next Sunday,
That's
uh,
correct.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Hung and I will be leading discussions with four young adults who are working one way or the other, kind of from the edges, from the borders of society, talking to them about what that work is like, what their frustrations and moments of desperation are as they do that, and how they pull themselves out of that, how they sustain themselves through community, through prayer, to continue to do the work. So I think it's going to be a really inspirational time. Let me put that flyer up one more time. It's called Hope Against Hope, Voices from the Borders. Um, and you can't click on that right here, but if this link right here, www.jesuitcentralsouthern.org/spirituality/OIS. That'll get you to the Office of Ignatian Spirituality, or you can just Google Office of Ignatian Spirituality, Jesuits Central Southern, and that should get you there. You can find some information about this retreat. You can also, if you're listening to this, you want to reach out to me. I'm executive.director@bridgesfoundation.org. Executive.director@bridgesfoundation.org. If you reach out to me that way, I'll be happy. Or leave a message on Facebook even here. I will make sure you get some information about this retreat. Um, Hung, we got no questions, but a couple of nice comments. Peggy McAuliffe says, "Beautiful. Thank you for your wisdom." She must be talking to you about the wisdom part. And my friend from Bridges, Dan Mose, says, "Nicely done. Thanks and happy Advent. Happy Advent to you, Dan." So
Yes.
listen, any parting words for anybody, Hung, about this time of year?
Yeah, first, I think thank you, Steve, again for this opportunity. And then just one more thing to talk about this retreat a little bit. It's really modeled after the whole symbols of Advent, also too. We're gonna explore the symbol of what is purple, the candle, and the wreath, like that. So, and then I think it's just the parting word, if I may, I think it would be just really open. I think the thing is, God is very generous. Our God is amazing in a way. God find a way to enter our life, and even when we shut our door, God will find a way to get in.
Mm,
So I think with a great trust like that, I think it's just for us to open the and then to be, you know, open in a sense of marvel, and the beauties is all around us, the goodness is all around us. And I love this quote. I mean, in North America, and I learned, the darker the night and the brighter the stars.
mm.
And there's a plenty stars out there.
Yeah, that is true. Well, thank you very much once again, Hung. I look forward to being with you on this online retreat next week. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me about that, and we'll make sure you get some information. Our next Bridges conversation will be on Thursday, January 11th at noon. Still finalizing up who that's going to be, but tune in. It's always interesting.
Yes.
Uh, we want to end our session today with just wishes to you all for this Advent season and for Christmas and the season beyond. And I thought I'd end with a little piece of music. This is a song that I wrote. It looks like I wrote it a couple years ago now. We were in the midst of COVID, and me and a couple of my collaborators wrote this, not even able to get together. We worked online together to create this song and to create this video. Um, it's called After This Night. And I think it speaks to this notion that we were talking about how do we live the incarnational life. And, if we say these things really happened uh, in Bethlehem all the years ago, we must be changed by them. They're too powerful, too important to sideline them to some sort of thing that we do every December. We have to live this out. And so we're going to leave you today with this song. It's called After This Night. Hung, thank you very much. And
Thanks.
thanks. We'll see you all soon.
Okay.
Star to lead you from the watch of your sheep to a stable, a newborn's family. What more could this mean? But angel choirs, a star, and the mystery in his mother's eyes. Did it lead you from the shelter and the comfort of your lives? On this night comes God's own light. Can anything remain the same? On this night, this holy night, will everything forever change? Now that I've seen what I've been shown, can I return to where I've been and what I've known? After this night, a star to lead you so far from the east to the little town of Bethlehem, to the least of the least. And was your gold, your myrrh, your frankincense a worthy prize? Did wrestling with your memories change the wisdom of your lives? On this night comes God's own light. Can anything remain the same? On this night, this holy night, will everything forever change? Now that I've seen what I've been shown, can I return to where I've been and what I've known. After this night, my life is changed by the story of a star. Learning faith is beyond my senses, beyond my blessings and scars. Faith in this babe, this word, sent to bring me back again. Will this spark of new life set a blaze of fire within? On this night comes God's own light. Can anything remain the same? On this night, this holy night, will everything forever change? Now that I've seen what I've been shown, can I return to where I've been? Now that I've seen what I've been shown, can I return to where I've been and what I've known? After this night,